Tonight was a boring night for politics, at least on the Democratic side. Will we ever become saved by the broken bell? Welcome to Day 3 of Roy A. Rockwood at the 2016 Democratic National Convention. I'm your host, Roy A. Rockwood. And my goodness, was this night was so bland. It was so bland. The only thing I could have to go with it was the blandest tap water in the city that I could find. Literally. My bottle right here, my bottle of water right here, the utmost driest and bland tasting water you could find in the city of Lynn, Massachusetts. In its defense, though, it actually tastes pretty ducking good, but still, I can't believe that I had to drink to this in the worst way possible, with dry water, with this very dry and bland water. What are they putting in it? Either way. Today was mostly focused on our national security, for the most part, but in reality, the real attraction for today was the pregame show, so let's just get right into things. The first thing, and, we were expecting this. Sarah Silverman ended up being basically rendered as a Dick Cheney throughout the entirety of the entire nation, and possibly even other portions of the world. Remember, she was a very long-time Bernie supporter throughout the entire campaign season. She had a huge amount of videos. A whole lot of videos that basically had delivered her praise for Bernie, and especially the views that the views and approaches that he wanted to undergo. Well, of course, after she basically said that the Bernie or bust supporters are all ducking ridiculous, that we're all idiots, so to speak, Anonymous decided to go out of their way to hack her account. Oh, that's perfect. Perfect. Again, don't get me wrong, I have a strong love for Sarah Silverman. She is debatably one of the best comedians of her time. However, she single-handedly urinated off the entire, I stress, the entire Bernie supporter community that is still planning to vote for Bernie, possibly as a write-in if he doesn't go to the Green Party later on in November. Anonymous wants us to listen with open eyes. And it is clear that they have a strong message. They want to assure that Bernie's message doesn't go unnoticed, because of course the entire DNC has been basically doing that. I'd say, well, according to articles that I was reading during today in Day 3, apparently, in terms of pledged delegates, we could say that based on states in which voter suppression and election fraud were present, that Bernie possibly lost between 184 and 273 pledged delegates that he could have picked up. That would have brought the game much more close, and definitely would have been a strong debate for superdelegates, but of course that's sadly not what happened. If we could redo Campaign 2016, I would want it to be redone all over again right now, as if it were a general election. Bernie would win in a landslide if every primary was open. If every primary and caucus was open. But still, we'll see what else happens. I'm expecting Anonymous will probably hack a few more other famous celebrities that basically decided to betray the Bernie train. It's a guarantee at this point. Oh my goodness. Sarah Silverman is just the first of many. In other news, during the pregame show, we actually got a lot of information regarding an upcoming matter, and that is John Hinckley Jr. John Hinckley II apparently will be released from the mental hospital that he's been in for the longest time. You might remember him as the guy that attempted to assassinate Ronald Reagan just to impress actress Jodie Foster. Stalkerish much? Seriously. It is ridiculous that somebody would try to do this just to impress a celebrity that probably wouldn't have wanted that to happen in the first place. I don't know how else to put it. But the fact that he ended up becoming not guilty by reason of insanity, that's the reason why he's not in a prison. However, he will be with his mother, according to CBS articles, they say she's 90 years old. People on the circuit board, I need to know, is she actually 90? The people on the circuit board, they have mixed numbers. Some are saying 89, some are saying 90, 91. I'm going to assume she's 90 unless it's stated otherwise. He could be a free man as early as August 5. And it's kind of ironic, or maybe a mere coincidence, that he would be coming out on August 5, because for those of you that know me in the Sonic hacking scene, while I was in the Mattapan region of Boston, the first time that I was ever exposed to anything involving Sonic ROM hacking was I decided to look up the Sonic 2 beta page on my very horrible dial-up from my compact computer, and it was on August 5 of 2006. From there, I ended up seeing a whole bunch of the Sonic 2 Simon Y beta, as well as the Nick Arcade demo, but alongside that, I even got to see some preview footage of version 2.0 of Dustin Wyatt, aka Sonic Tweaker's version of Megamix, Sonic Megamix, while it was still under the Tweaker name. So it's still kind of a bit of a surprise that August 5 would come into play here, but I guess this is exactly what we would be expecting. But whether or not that actually happens for John Hinckley Jr., whether or not he comes out on that day, who knows? We'll see. But it's still rather astounding, because I'll tell you this: if somebody attempted to assassinate a president in modern day, and bear in mind they tried to do it with Bill Clinton at least 4 times, but Bill was smart enough to not be in those areas when people tried to do it. But if somebody tried to or successfully assassinated the president nowadays, you could not be found not guilty by reason of insanity. They would give you the death penalty. They would find you guilty. I'm sure of it. Nobody in their right state of mind would allow that to be. Nobody would allow somebody to get away with that again. Not at all. Not at all. We've learned from Reagan, and we've learned from both John and Robert Kennedy. I think we know what is the factors by now, and how we must handle it. In other news, of course, this is a topic that a lot of people have been discussing, because, of course, Donald Trump basically took over the whole day. Donald took over the day. Oh, why? Why, Donald? Why'd you have to take over the day? So he had this massive press conference. I only got to see like the final 20 or so minutes of it, so I don't know what else was talked about. But one of the major things that I was rather surprised about was actually the fact that he wanted to change the way he wanted to handle the economy. Because, as you know, Donald Trump in his campaign, he basically said that everybody would get a tax cut. Those making above $250,000 would have all their taxes, all their federal income tax percentages drop down to 25, while the lowest earners would be down to 10, and then certain other ones in the middle class would still be paying 15 or 20, just in higher numbers, I guess. As well as making sure that all states would have the ability to change the minimum wage to their liking, even lower it if they want to. Whether or not that would be appreciated would be completely out of my ballpark, but I'm sure that a lot of people would probably have a lot of distaste and or hate for that. But he said he did a total 180 today regarding that, in which he said that he wanted to make a $10 US dollar minimum wage. It's better than nothing, at least on the Republican side, for what it's worth. But he is saying that he might not actually want it to be a 10. He could possibly go to 15. Who knows? It could probably be even higher than that. Who knows? Who knows? I'm at least glad he's starting to do his homework. That's what you need to do when you're running for president. Obviously, people are demanding a higher minimum wage. Even the Republican Party I feel that the Republican Party must assure that they are more to the left on this subject, and yes, increase the minimum wage. However, if it were up to me, everybody would be making $7,500 a week. Yeah, that's right, $7,500 a week. Yeah, that would boost up the economy. And bear in mind, all the money would be digital. That's right. In my system, everybody would be making at least $7,500, going no higher than $15,000 a week, except for every single project, which will be $7,500 each, or 7,500 times the amount of weeks it took to complete said project. But I digress. That's something that I'll discuss way later on. Way later on, once we abolish the penny and the nickel. Oh, speaking of which, the penny and the nickel, if I had to say about the economy, the penny and the nickel are what are decreasing the worth of the US dollar right now. You know, where it costs about 168 to over 240% to create a penny. And in a scenario where you have, it costs 9.40 cents to create a nickel, which is probably going to say about 170% or more, maybe about 180%. I'd have to double check. It shows why Canada got rid of the penny and why we need to get rid of the US penny and the US nickel, so that we can help increase the worth of the US dollar. Because the fact that it costs more than a penny to make a penny and more than a nickel to make a nickel, that's an insult. That is indeed an insult that has got to change. I hope the abolition of the US penny and US nickel become a reality in future time. Don't worry, we'll make sure to put Thomas Jefferson on another piece of currency. Who knows? Oh, wait a minute, right, he's on the $2 bill, right? Yeah, let's bring the $2 bill back. Get rid of the penny and nickel in exchange for the 2. And while we're at it, let's put William McKinley back on the $500 bill and start circulating those. I miss those. Didn't they used to be out like around 1937, maybe a little earlier than that? Double check. And also, Donald ended up coming under fire for another thing that was basically under discussion today, in which, of course, regarding the whole issue regarding the emails of Hillary's private email server. Why must I talk about these? As Bernie once said in the first debate, and I say, for the do I really have to paraphrase this? Because I can't fully remember. I think I speak for everybody when I say that the American people are sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails. Wanted to get that off my chest. But no, seriously, enough with the emails. But at this point, maybe no, just leak more emails while we're at it. Okay, why not? Because it's clear that, you know, we found out that the DNC was committing a lot of fraud and a lot of other things, swaying more towards Hillary. Who knows? Who knows what's on Hillary's server? Who knows what she was doing? Even if she didn't believe she was doing anything wrong, who knows? If there is incriminating evidence in those emails, in the event that they're ever found, it could become total chaos. For all that we know, however, we don't know if this is WikiLeaks' October surprise. We don't know if Julian Assange and his crew have things that, you know, we've still yet to find out about. But we know that a lot more is coming. I mean, heck, a lot of voicemails were delivered today. About 29 phone calls and a whole bunch of messages, totaling about 14 minutes and change. But it wasn't really anything major, according to what we know. But we know that more is coming, but I guess we'll just have to be patient. Maybe it'll come out before the debates. Maybe it'll come out during the debates. Who knows? Either way, I can tell that this entire thing is scripted, but in the worst form of paradox that we've ever seen. I don't know what to say. But the fact that he would even recommend both Russia and Vladimir Putin's people to look into the matter. Some people are even saying that Donald Trump is committing treason by recommending a foreign nation to deliver or to commit a cybercrime outside of their region, taking stuff from U.S. soil. and from a U.S. citizen. I'm surprised that the FBI and other groups are not investigating this matter, or at least investigating the statement. I'll tell you this, if it were any other candidate that were saying this, they would be arrested by now. But of course, it was Donald Trump. Donald Trump has totalitarian freedom of speech and, of course, a lot of freedom with the press. Even though he has kind of barred people, or at least groups. I think he also barred the Washington Post. I'd have to double check that, but still. He has a love-hate relationship with the press. It's always been that way. Even since, 1973. The history only gets worse and worse, does it? Now, I'll be truthful, we did not really get a lot of enjoyment from a good majority of the speeches. We didn't get a lot of love coming out of, well, actually, no, we got a lot of love out of a whole bunch of people. But the issue that I had with the speeches was that it was more of the same. And if it wasn't more of the same, it was things I already talked about in a different way that I didn't want to rediscuss. I don't want this episode to be longer than 70 minutes, let alone 60. It takes a long while to edit this up anyway. But, we had high notables such as Jesse Jackson, Martin O'Malley, Mark Kelly, Gabby Giffords, even Joe Biden. But none of them truly delivered a message, or at least some kind of topic that I really wanted to discuss, because it was stuff we already knew. But what I do appreciate is that they brought up the issues regarding what I will continue to refer as the false Islamic State. Because, a lot of people were having a lot of trouble, or at least a lot of questioning, with why they didn't bring it up until now, until day 3. It's not as if they forgot about it, it's just that they didn't want that to be the talk of the town, as how the Republican National Convention had done. I believe this was more of a smart move on the part of the Democratic Party, and that was a more justifiable way to handle the matter, whether we like it or not. Wishfully that is understood, and wishfully that will help prevent other issues from coming up. But we'll have to see. We truly don't know. We truly don't know. But still, I'm at least glad that they did not try to go overboard with it. I know that they were trying to do the right thing, and they didn't do too much wrong by going about it in the way that they had. But then came along Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid. And bear in mind, this was before I started to mention most of my shock and surprise. It was, about the whole matter regarding, none of the speeches really truly pointing out major things that I would really want to talk about. But, of course, we've all felt that Bernie's been bamboozled by the Democratic Party. A lot of people, even Hillary supporters alike, they do believe that Bernie deserves some form of restitution for being blindsided and wrongfully hurt and discriminated by the Democratic Party this way. I'm at least glad that Harry Reid says that, everybody understands this issue is wrong. Everybody knows it's wrong. Why aren't we doing something about it? And that, unfortunately, Nevada Senator, is the fact that, your own party has played the people that support all of us for fools. They're doing the utmost wrongest of things, to good people. Bernie deserves far better than what he got. That is for sure. Nobody could ever contest or deny that truth. I'll be truthful. In my time, I have seen contests and elections get rigged far so much to the point where, I've had to speak out about it. It happened at my 2012 junior prom in Lynn Anglo Senior High, because apparently a lot of people had planned to vote me in for prom king, but apparently, I guess something happened with the vote, or I guess Or I guess people decided to vote for other people, but who knows. And then the 2012 class president election, also in Lynn English Senior High, which was in favor more of a candidate that had basically said that she was just there for the sake of being there. Did she actually do anything, however? That's what I want to know, class of 13. You know, I'm trying to say this without bias. But when I see matters on the local scale get rigged, it only makes me wonder how bad it is on the state level, on the federal level. And on the state level, it was actually clear to some of us that Martha Coakley actually won the 2014 run for governor, the gubernatorial election, by about 40,000 votes. However, when the exit polls showed up, it appears that the machines, I guess, were rigged more in the favor of Charlie Baker. What I at least appreciate, however, is even though Charlie Baker won, no matter what technicality it happened to be by, we don't even know if it was truly rigged in his favor or not. But what I will say is that Charlie Baker has not fatally damaged the welfare of Massachusetts. He would have, however, if he had won in 2010, which is why I'm glad that Deval Patrick ended up winning here in 2010, and Tim Cahill ended up taking votes from Charlie Baker, about 8% of the overall vote, more than almost any independent that I've seen in recent time, or at least any Democrat that has run as an independent, just to make sure that the vote was divided up, so that Charlie couldn't get into office in 10. Charlie was too much to the right back in 2010, so I'm glad that in 14 he decided to become more of a moderate Republican. That is why he is one of the utmost notable Republicans throughout the entire nation right now. I would not be surprised, if he ever decides to run for president, I wouldn't be surprised if his moderatism did better than John Kasich's run for president this year. That's all up for debate, but you can understand where I'm going with this. You can understand where I'm going with this. Unfortunately, we do have an issue with the way that political parties and or political elections are handled, and unfortunately, they're in a way in which they favor the establishment more than those that are there for the better good of all of us. And I do feel that Bernie Sanders has been ripped off in all the worst ways probable. The Democratic Party will pay for this, one way or another. But I know that will happen when people say that enough is enough, and we're already seeing that happen. I don't even need to say anything more on that. This is what you're getting. This is exactly what you're getting. People protesting out in streets. Peaceful protesting. People leaving your party to vote for independents, to vote for Green Party, to vote for the Libertarian Party members, to vote for people that will actually do something to overhaul the Democratic Party from the inside. And the fact that I could get all of this just from listening to Harry Reid, a Democrat who has been long trusted with the community over the years, it definitely goes to show how much I actually trust the guy, whether people like him or not. I'll go more on into this at a better point in time. However, we're already about 24 minutes in. And how many more topics do I have? I've got a good amount. Okay, next topic, gun control. Ah, yes. The whole matter involving guns. Okay, I've already stated this before. I think it was during the Republican convention or maybe during the Democratic convention pregame show, but I don't know Hillary's views on gun control. I don't know them fully. However, if I've learned anything from the new progressive platform that, Bernie's campaign has at least gotten 80% of the messages that they wanted on it, what I at least appreciate is that in Hillary's campaign, she will attempt to fight to close the gun show loophole and assure that nobody can purchase a semi-automatic or an automatic weapon, as well as tens of thousands of rounds of ammunition, or just thousands of, or even hundreds of rounds of ammunition, for whatever reason that be. What I do not know, however, is her matters on gun safety. I don't know her views on gun safety. Let me be clear, just as I was during the Republican convention, assuming I brought it up then. Proper gun safety needs to be in place for both old generation and modern era guns. Guns of all forms deserve to have a specific mechanism that only allows the owner of that gun to use it. And here's why I say that. You know, as I said, Lesley Stahl had an article on 60 Minutes, and she basically talked about the modern measures of gun safety. New gun companies are making guns that have specific mechanisms that assure that the owner of the gun is the only person that can use it. So, like, some will have, like, a specific barcode or a specific wire combination, and you have, like, this ring or some kind of card or chip or whatever that you basically put into the gun, and it will recognize your hand, it will recognize your strength, your squeeze of the gun, and you're pulling in the trigger. Whereas if somebody else had that same technology, but the gun did not recognize that person's body squeeze and structure and whatnot, the gun would not dislodge, the gun would not fire. That's what I'm saying here. We need mechanisms such as that in all guns of all forms, including old-fashioned marksman pistols, including blunderbusses from the 1800s, including, you know, the modern-day rapid-fire guns, including shotguns, including sniper rifles, including bazookas and grenade launchers while we're at it. Why not? If we want to have projectile weapons, we need to have them available and used in the utmost correct of forms. I cannot stress that enough. If Hillary Rodham does become elected president and does not deliver such measures for proper gun safety, then we know it will have been an entire bust in her methods of gun control. So I say this loudly and clearly to the Rodham Clinton Kaine campaign. Assure this kind of technology is implemented into all guns of all forms. For those that already own a gun, make sure that these kinds of mechanisms are delivered into old-fashioned weapons to assure that proper gun safety is available for all weapons of all forms. Whether you're a police officer, whether you're a police officer who a criminal could just potentially just pull your gun out of your pocket and or intentionally shoot you or somebody else. To any soldier that worries about their weapons being stolen. To any federal agent who has to worry about the same scenario. Or just for, you know, casual gun owners that don't want their friends accidentally using their guns to, I don't know, commit suicide or shoot something that they weren't meant to shoot. This is why I say that if I were ever president, keep your guns, just make sure you have this kind of mechanism so that it's safer for you to use and so that nobody else uses it by accident or intentionally tries to hurt you with it. That's my view on the matter. And bear in mind, this comes from a guy that prefers swords over guns. I feel the sword is mightier than the gun. You know, this comes from a guy that grew up playing Phantasy Star 2 and 4 when I was younger. And I still play Phantasy Star 2 nowadays. I don't play 4 as much because I want to record that for the channel. But 2, you know, while it's on the mind, those of you that are gamers watching this, I play the ROM hack Phantasy Star 2 Newman Revolution. Not to be confused with Newman from Seinfeld. That Wayne Knight Newman is an entirely different Newman. No, we're talking about knee. We're talking about knee and knee first. Or is it nay and nay first? I never could understand how that's pronounced. It's N-E-I. N-E-I. That's how it's spelled. That's how her name is spelled. But no, Newman Revolution, you know, I always enjoyed playing as Rolf in that. Definitely has a far better difficulty balance. I applaud H.C. Bailey for playing the original version without issue. Kudos to you, dude. I do not intend to play the original version anymore after starting Newman Revolution. It's just as good as a political revolution. Heck, we have a completely rewritten script that actually makes proper sense. We'll get to that, though. We'll get to that later on. Okay, then we ended up going into, well, let's see. Well, John Hudson had basically he was talking about the matter regarding our safety in the entirety of this nation. But what his speech actually ended up getting interrupted by Bernie delegates. I was about to say Bernie delegates. Delegates? What's a delegate? Is it a belly posing as a delegate? well, I guess that kind of makes sense because, I don't know, the boobs are eyes and the belly button's literally a mouth. Where's the nose? Is the nose supposed to be like the top of the belly? You know where the abs are? But, forget it. Either way. So yeah, apparently, I guess some Bernie delegates or Bernie supporters were basically being heckled by security even though they had totalitarian clearance. And, of course, Bernie delegates and supporters up in the balconies and in the second floor, they were basically chanting to make sure that those supporters got in, that those delegates got in during the speech. However, this actually does bring up another factor, because apparently, according to Facebook posts from Bernie supporters that are at the convention, it appears that Jeff Weaver is now working with the Rodham campaign. And he basically had said to Bernie supporters, like, hey, if you have a Bernie banner or whatever, or if you have a banner that basically is clearly supporting Bernie, we're going to ask you to put it away the first time, and or we will take it away from you. And if you happen to hold it up the second time or decide to basically chant and protest, we'll haul you out of the convention. We'll haul you out of the Wells Fargo Arena. If that is indeed true, what a dynamic shift. I mean, geez. That Jeff Weaver has done a lot of good for Bernie's campaign, but it is a shame that this is the unfortunate reality of what has happened with his campaign team. We don't know if Bernie will run in 2020. So, if he does not decide to continue, maybe with the Green Party or maybe as an independent, we don't know what will happen. Either way, it's sad to see something such as this occur. Again, Bernie supporters have gotten the fishy end of the stick all week. And it's only getting worse. It is only getting worse and worse. It's like there's no true end in sight. There's no true end in sight. And I might as well bring up Jill Stein, because in the case of Jill Stein, Bernie supporters all across the board have been rallying to Jill. Jill's basically she's the female version of Bernie Sanders. I cannot lie about that. Only she's from Massachusetts. So that's more points. That's more points for me because she and I we're both here from Massachusetts. We're in Massachusetts. She's the overlord of the Green Rainbow Party in Massachusetts. But a good overlord. There's a difference. There's a difference between good and dark overlords, I assure you. But if you saw some of the polls, in certain polls, she is polling ahead of Hillary Rodham, literally a little below Donald Trump. 27 to 38%. That's not bad. And bear in mind, this is with Hillary at about, I'm going to say, maybe 24.5%. 24.5%. She's in third place behind Jill Stein. And in certain polls, some people are saying, like about 59% of people are saying in certain, I think it was a Reuters poll, that they want Jill Stein more than Donald Trump and more than Hillary Rodham, both of whom ended up getting about, I'd say, 18-17% in those respective polls. That is astounding. That is pretty astounding. She could deliver a clear argument. Again, all she needs is 5 national polls in which she can end up becoming a part of the debates on September 26th. This would be very lovely if she could get in. This is exactly what we want. This is exactly what we want right now if we can't get Bernie. Makes total sense to me. So wishfully we'll be able to talk more about that, but that will be a story for when the time comes. Speaking of other third parties, Michael Bloomberg. Yeah. You know, Bloomberg had said that he wanted to run for president, but he said he would only run if he knew that both Donald, if he knew that it would be Trump versus Sanders, Bernie versus Donald, he would have popped in as an independent. It would have been a massively good debate. I'm sure of it. However, that is not the case. That is not what happened. So he ended up endorsing Hillary Rodham. And it makes sense. It makes sense he would want to vote for the more sane candidate, even if she is not who we want. At this point, out of the two major parties, it makes sense for Michael Bloomberg to be supportive of Hillary Rodham, if only because she's more sane and has better credentials for the job than Donald does. At least that's how it's viewed by all political intelligence that I have in my team and elsewhere. And bear in mind, Michael Bloomberg, he used to be a Democrat, then he became a Republican, and then he was an independent. And the fact that he is able to understand how both major parties work on both sides of the ticket, and the fact that he has voted for people on both sides, and even independents as well, why not? This is one of the reasons why he has done so well, why he had 12 years in New York in terms of mayorship, right? He was the mayor of New York City, correct? Yep, the board is telling me yes, so I'll take their word for it. But yeah, Michael Bloomberg, he did good as a mayor. He's done good as a businessman. He has done so well that he even said about Donald that he knows a con when he sees it. And as I said, Donald Trump is literally playing the Republican Party for fools. We know his hidden agenda. But we can't trust anything that he's saying right now, so in some way, shape, and form, that's why Michael Bloomberg said, vote for Hillary. But at this point, we don't believe that third-party voting could go to waste. At some point, if the write-in campaign for Bernie works, if Jill Stein is actually able to pull through, if Gary Johnson's able to pull through, there are a lot of choices that could potentially be made that could change the entire dynamic of our political history. It's all up to the modern generation to see what that will be, though. But we'll see. I don't know. I don't know what will come of it, but I'm at least glad that Bloomberg delivered his advice. I'd say he was the Ted Cruz of tonight. The Ted Cruz of tonight at the Democratic Convention. Only made sense. Well, it kind of makes sense, too, because Ted Cruz was there night 3, and this was night 3, and they basically talked around the same time, so it kind of made sense, too. Why not? Why not? They had the same time slot, yeah. That is exactly correct. But then afterward, we got Tim Kaine. What to say about Tim Kaine? What to say? Dull. I could not enjoy Tim Kaine's speech. It was so dull. It was so bland. I understand now why he said he's boring. But no worries. Because I get to be around boring people all the time. I'll be truthful. I can be around somebody that is a total bore that I end up falling asleep. But what I at least appreciate that I do is that I hear them out. I give them my attention. And what Tim Kaine did, as dull as his speech was, he did what I basically said was supposed to be done during Mike Pence's speech. Mike Pence was talking about Donald about 90% of the time. Maybe a little less than that. But in the case of Tim Kaine, he wasn't talking about Hillary most of the time. At most, he probably talked about her about 10%, 10 to 20%. If I'm hearing it correctly, he was saying things about himself at least 67 to 79% of the time. He was talking about his how he grew up. He was talking about his love life. He was talking about his kids, his time as a mayor in Virginia, his time as a governor, his time as a senator, the state's accomplishments since he's been doing things in politics. And that's the kind of thing that you need. Sure, there was a bit of Donald bashing. It wasn't perfect Donald bashing. I mean, Donald doesn't speak in a deep voice. Did Donald ever speak in a deep voice? I mean, no, not to my knowledge. I have the biggest hands you've ever seen. I swear that's not me as Donald. I swear that's not. Well, then again, I don't ever actually imitate Donald Trump, so I guess I can have a free pass for now. For now. But if I ever pose as Donald, please don't hurt me. I promise. It's just for laughs. But yeah, again, I don't really know what to truly expect out of Mike Pence. I don't know what to expect out of Mike Pence either. But to be truthful, I don't know how Tim Kaine will fare up against Mike Pence or former Massachusetts Governor Bill Weld if he will be president. Vice president, sorry. But yeah, in the vice presidential debate, we don't know how well Tim Kaine will fare up against Mike Pence. We don't know how he'll fare up against Bill Weld. And if Bernie decides to take Jill's offer and go on a green ticket, we don't know if he'll be able to fare up against Jill Stein. Anything can go. Anything can go here. We just don't have a ducking clue. At least that's how I see it. But after that, we ended with Barack Obama, and Barack Obama led this speech into like 11:40-something. I mean, that's why it took so late for me to actually begin this commentary. The time is 2:37 right now, and we're about 44 minutes in, so I'd say, I'd probably say maybe it was, what does it matter? What does it matter? It started well before 150, or maybe a little after 150. Either way, Barack Obama knows how to make a speech. And he's been doing it since campaign 2004. Campaign 2004 at the Democratic National Convention. I'll be truthful, he's aged a bit since, he's 12 years older. Or 20. You couldn't tell from the change in his hair color. But what I will say that I appreciate about Barack Obama is that, it's not the speech that everybody was wanting. It's not the speech that everybody expected. But it's one that delivered hope. Hope that we could go back to a time where everything was peaceful and that we don't have to worry about, our lives being at stake, or if we're going to be able to afford enough to put food on the table, or to be able to, just have regular festivities. A time where our environment could become better, where work is not as bad as it is now, where the minimum wage could go up so high that that deflation of the U.S. dollar could become a reality. And a whole bunch of other things that I could think of and talk about. I am more than positive right now that if we had those kind of things, if the hope that Barack Obama wants to deliver to this country would become a reality in future time, I'm sure that we'll have proper presidents that will do it. So whether you have Hillary Rodham, whether you got Bernie Sanders or Jill Stein, either way, just so long as it's somebody that we know we can trust in some form, whether we like their history or not, we'll at least know that we're in good hands. Even if it's not fully what we like. No president has ever come without their own personal flaws. But this speech that he delivered in support of Hillary Rodham, this is one of the last speeches that we'll probably hear from him. At least during his time as president. Because, we're in the final 6 months. We're in the final 6 months of Barack Obama as president. And, it's kind of a bittersweet time for us. Because, we're going to miss the dude. We're going to miss this guy. When I found out about him way back in 2006, it was October of 2006, I was thinking to myself, how the duck is this guy not going to be president? And oh, how happy I am that I stuck around with him for the longest time. He has brought back the age of liberalism. When he won the presidency in 2012, Republicans across the board said the age of liberalism is back. We're starting to go back to the days of FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. However, I do feel that if we were to truly be back in the times of FDR, we would have a president that would have more terms. And wishfully in future time, maybe this could happen during a Bernie Sanders presidency, maybe during a Jill Stein presidency. I don't even know if Hillary Rodham would even be up for the idea of this. For any future president, for that matter. Heck, I would love to see Bill Clinton get reelected. The abolition of Amendment 22. And as you may know, Amendment 22 is the amendment that delivered term limits for any president. Which means that any president after Amendment 22 is implemented would be forced to have a maximum of 2 terms. AKA, you can basically be president for 1 term, not run for president again for, say, like another 50 years, win the presidency 50 years later, and have your 2nd term. That's, again, one of those other scenarios where it was like, Jimmy Carter hasn't been president since, he hasn't been president since the 80s. So I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, let's bring back Jimmy Carter for president in 2016. That's what I was saying in October of 2012. That's what I was saying in January of 13. And that's what I had wanted before Hillary decided to jump in. Who knows? Maybe under a presidency of my own creation, I would probably abolish Amendment 22. Again, there are a lot of good presidents out there. They deserve to have as many terms as they want. That is what North America built this nation upon, and that is what we must have nowadays. If we don't have that, who knows what could happen? Who knows what could occur? Term limits only limit the amount of time and dedication that a president can deliver. I say no more to that. So, no matter who is the next president, abolish Amendment 22. Trust me, we will thank you massively later. Plus, I'd like to see Barack Obama get a 3rd term. Seriously, it's almost as if we're back in the Bill Clinton days, thanks to Barack Obama. The business is a-booming. Life is easier. Although, internationally, everything's gone kaput. That's the only factor. We didn't have that during the Clinton era. We didn't really have a lot of international issues during the Clinton era, but at least I would say internationally it's not better now than it was over 25 years ago, but that's another story for another time. We'll get into that when the time comes. And how many minutes are we in? We are at 51 minutes. This is going to exceed an hour again. Who cares? So, we're going to end this on a serious topic. The Late Show, live. But no, seriously, there is a majorly serious topic that I'll get into later on, which we're going to see. But first, So at the beginning of the episode, Steve decided to deliver, like, how when David Letterman had been running the show since 1993, we ended up having a little bit where he shows off, like, fake newspaper articles, or even real newspaper articles that just happen to have odd subtitles, or even odd photos or whatever. James Corden does a similar thing on his, which is, I think, called, like, Real News, or Real Headlines, or something around that name. But in the case of Steve, he basically showed that when Hillary Rodham officially got the nomination, and when newspapers started rolling out Wednesday morning, instead of Hillary Rodham being on the photography, guess who was on the photography? I'll give you a few seconds. Oh, wait. Still don't know? Okay, the answer is Bill Clinton. That is right. Bill Clinton was shown on virtually every single Hillary Rodham nomination front page. That is astounding. You see Bill Clinton walking on the stage. You can see him talking on the stage. You can see him waving to the people at the convention. I've never seen something such as that before. But then again, this is literally 1992 and 1996 all over again. The Clintons are back, whether we like it or not. And I'll be truthful. I'll be Bill Clinton as much as I can. Maybe I'll probably portray that role of Italian Bill Clinton from the Late Late Show with James Corden. What's a coming and go? Tootsie Frutti. That's the best Bill Clinton I can do at, what time is it? Best Bill Clinton I can do at 2:47 in the a.m. That was perfect timing. I did not have comedic relations with Craig Ferguson. Oh, come here, Hillary. Priceless. Just priceless. Seriously, we need Bill Clinton for a third term. Abolish Amendment 22 now. Okay. But, continuing on. Now, as you might remember during, I think it was day one of the Republican National Convention coverage on The Late Show, Stephen Colbert decided to be his original fictional Stephen Colbert variant from the Colbert Report, better known as the Colbert Report. And that series from circa 2005-2006, it appears that the series, or at least the character and franchise, are still intellectual property of Comedy Central. I think you know where I'm going with here. Because the character, even though it was made by Steve, is still intellectual property of Comedy Central, this means that CBS ended up getting attacked full throttle, and they were at risk of being shot with a cease and desist order. Not just on CBS, but on Steve as well. So as a result, fake Stephen Colbert, as well as any bits from that show, cannot be used unless if they are reworded and restructured so that it doesn't negatively affect the, or so that it doesn't cause lawsuits and whatnot. And I'm going to be perfectly blunt with you about this. If you are the person that created the concept, if you are the person that created the series, if you are the person that created your own characters, your own franchises, and whatnot, keep it as independent as probable. Do not sell your content, or do not have your content be strictly under the ownership of a company that you might leave. This is why Prince was so protective of his music that he didn't want other music labels having his stuff out. He would have it independently produced. And this is also another reason why I am a strong supporter and have been promoting copyleft law in Massachusetts. Because I have time and time again had issues where I've made my own franchises or I've made fictionalized versions of my own friends and colleagues, members of Roy Meadow and Company, particularly Generation 2, and I have gotten complaints full throttle all across the board from Generation 2 saying like, hey, you're using my song, or hey, you're using my image. We don't want you doing that. Bear in mind, they created their content for Roy Meadow and Company and or when they started being a part of the Royan community. As a result of that, if you are a part of this team, you may use any member's content without limits. That is what copyleft is. You may use this content for profit or non-profit, so long as it is modified to a point where it is acceptable or used in a way in which it is legally acceptable. But in the way that copyleft is, again, copyleft is the entire inverse of copyright. It is not protected by law, in which you can't use it unless you have a license or some kind of a contract. You can use it freely without the worry about getting a lawsuit or whatever. That is why I am ever so strict about implementing copyleft law, as well as here in Massachusetts, so that we can prevent having personality rights issues. That is what I suffer from most of the time. I suffer most of the time from personality rights issues, and I had a few issues with the music of other members, and again, it was more or less because of the fact that they are running on U.S. copyright law and we're running on Royan copyleft law. Of course, if you have both systems in play, things are going to get out of hand, especially because of matters such as the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which I say is debatably one of the utmost dated copyright laws of all time. I believe that the next president, no matter who it happens to be, has to address the issue on copyright full throttle and have us implement copyleft law full throttle. I would like to be on the front page, or at least the front lines of that agreement. We need a copyleft act in this nation so that we can have ourselves use any content that we have ever created and not have to worry about stations and legal counsel filing lawsuits. I'm getting ever so sick and tired of having to talk about this. That this is why I was against Protect IP, why I was against SOPA, why I was against CISPA 1 and 2.0. And it appears that there was a SOPA 2.0 as well. Yeah, I'll always be against that as well. Why not? Either way that I view it. Anything that prevents us from creating the content that we ever so rightfully deserve to create is an insult to the entire yellow-collar industry. In the case of what happened with Colbert Report, Stephen Colbert's usage in The Late Show, that is an insult to Stephen Colbert. It is an insult to CBS. It is an insult to all people that render their usage either as free or as fair use as probable. We need to create a strong free-to-use act. We need to enhance Creative Commons. We need to make copyleft mandatory for all states and all American-owned land, as well as implement it internationally to prevent something such as this from ever happening again. I am not happy about this one single bit. I'm not happy about this one single bit. Do I have to question this more than I already have had to? I'm sorry that I have to talk about it in this way, but I don't like having to discuss this. This is what gets on my nerves. But copyleft law is something I do feel is necessary if we want to have a booming yellow-collar industry. If we want to prevent having censorship in localizations. I mean, heck, you remember Super Hang-On, right? You know, Super Hang-On had a whole bunch of Marlboro cigarettes banners all across their game. They had to censor that out in U.S. builds. We ended up getting the Japanese build thanks to the likes of Genesis Six Pack, but still. Whether it is movies, whether it's TV shows, comics, cartoons, video games, journalism, you name it. Everything deserves to be as free to use, as unabridged, as uncensored, as unlimited as it can possibly become. That is why I say, let's implement copyleft law now before it is too late, before we have a lawsuit that nobody can truly handle. Because again, if I ever had a case in which I had to deal with that, I would bring it to the ducking judicial court. I would bring it to the judicial court, and I hope that they would rule in my favor. This is something I take with total seriousness. And wishfully, if it became law all around the nation, just imagine how much of leverage, just imagine how much of a burden would be taken off of the backs of content creators and the yellow-collar industry as we see it. It would be revolutionized to the point that it wouldn't even be the same yellow-collar industry anymore. That is what I want to have implemented here in Lynn if I were mayor. And I will definitely fight for that in the event that I do run. I'm not going to say when, because again, I don't know if I'll actually run or not. But if I see that things are going south here in Lynn with the political campaign season in 2017, I'll definitely run, and this will indeed be one of the topics I will bring up. It's been a factor that I've been having since August 12th of 2012, and we must put a direct end to it now. Get rid of copyright, implement copyleft, make everything free to use, whether it be for-profit or non-profit. End of story. And with that, we can end the night by discussing who the duck is going to show up in Day 4. Which, if my memory serves correctly, the theme of that is going to be known as Stronger Together. Before I go into that, apparently according to the official final presumed count, including superdelegates, the outcome was apparently something around, I guess, 2838 to a little more than 1889.5 in favor of Hillary Rodham. But I totally forgot to mention this, but in the case of Bernie did not give up his delegates by means of acclamation. It basically shows you that, yes, this was a divided outcome, and that was based on the way that he said it when he decided to suspend the rules and the process of the roll call. And it will indeed show that, yes, there is a major political divide. It's a decent political divide nonetheless. It's about 44 to 48% to 52 to 56%. It's still a major surprise, but still. It shows that, yes, the Democratic Party is changing, and that will definitely be something to look at come campaign 2020. So, we're going to finish things up here with mentioning who the heck we're going to be seeing in Day 4 in the Stronger Together theme. Now, here are the people that appear to have not spoken yet. And this is in alphabetical order. They don't have official time slots as of yet. So we have Tennessee State Representative Ramesh Akbari, Ohio Representative Joyce Beatty, California Representative Xavier Becerra, Texas Representative Joaquin Castro, one of the two twin brothers, because Julian Castro looks just like him. I swear he does. Then you have U.S. Representative James Clyburn of South Carolina. Clyburn? That sounds like a Pokemon. Clyburn, I choose you. Use Blazing Torpedo. Oh my goodness. Why do I have to do this to myself? Bill Cosby, just do your cue. Pokemon, Pokemon, will poke animal, and the guy throws the ball, and the thing comes out, and I give a one faces on the table. Alright. On to Andrew Cuomo, Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York. Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton. Colorado State House Majority Leader I hope I don't get your name mixed up. Oh, right, Chrysanta Duran. Yeah, I totally remember her. Peggy Flanagan of Minnesota, state representative. Eric Garcetti, mayor of Los Angeles, California, who you might remember James Corden took over for the Late Late Show in Take a Break, who ended up being hauled away by his Secret Service agents. Oh, what a shame, what a shame. Former Governor Jennifer Granholm of Michigan, along with Chairman of the South Carolina Democratic Party, Jamie Harrison, Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, Ruben Kihuen of Nevada, or is it Kihuen? I'm gonna assume it's Kihuen, because I think that H is silent. State Senator from Nevada, by the way. U.S. Representative Gwen Moore from Wisconsin. South Carolina former State Representative Bacardi Sellers. Former Mayor Antonio Villa... I can't believe I'm about to duck this up. It's Villaraigosa of Los Angeles. Former Mayor of Los Angeles, Antonio Villaraigosa. Villaraigosa. That's a tongue twister. Villaraigosa. Sorry. Villaraigosa. I got my G's and my R's mixed up. I'm so sorry, dude. So sorry, Antonio. I'll just call you Antonio. And then you have Governor Tom Wolf of Pennsylvania. But those are not the main attractions. The main attractions you're going to be seeing are General John R. Allen of the U.S. Marine Corps. He's retired. Chad Griffin, president of the Human Rights Campaign, or as Bernie Sanders says it, the Human Rights Campaign. Yes, I've gotten so used to saying human. It's not bad. It's huge! Then you have Gene Karpinski, president of the League of Conservation Voters. I can only imagine what he'll say. Then you have U.S. Representative Sean Patrick Maloney of New York and Sarah McBride. U.S. Senator Barbara Mikulski of Maryland. And then, of course, you have the two headliners. These headliners are expected to be during the final hours of the Democratic National Convention. Chelsea Clinton and 2016 Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Rodham Clinton. It will indeed be a very fun day for a lot of people. And it will be a very upsetting day for a lot of other people. Prepare for the beginning of Dexit, also known as Democratic Exit. It's going to be a crazy one, folks. Day 4 will only be much more madness as the days go on. But, you know, we've had protesting on the rise tonight in Pennsylvania and all over the nation. We currently have the rise of Jill Stein, and I believe that this will only increase the more and more the things go on. So I want it to be absolutely clear right now. Be ready for a political showdown on September 26. There is a significant chance that Jill Stein could potentially end up in the debates. There is also a chance that we don't know where Bernie Sanders will be going next. Whether he's going to go back to the Senate full-time or if he's going to continue his campaign as an independent or a Green Party member, we don't have a clue. At least at this time. We will see what happens as the days go on, as the months go on. Maybe we'll be hearing more about it. But other than that, it's go time. It's go time. Hillary, you better have a ducking good speech. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. You better have a good speech that doesn't sound as if it's not from the heart. If it's not from the heart, I don't believe a lot of people will trust you. Trust me, I would know. I said I know very well. But that's it, and it ended up becoming over 70 minutes anyway. About 72 minutes. I'll take it. So I'll see you folks for day 4. And that's it. Yeah, I'll just see you for day 4. I don't know what else I'm going to do, but it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a fun time for all of us, right? Or will it be? Who knows? Who knows? It's all up in the air right now. It's all a mystery. Will we be saved by the broken bell? Will the broken bell ding for us? Somebody knock that bell and make it ding. We need it right now. Ding, 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 ding. That concludes tonight's episode. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for day 4.